What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am really excited to bring back the gear news. I know it's taken a bit of a hiatus. We've been busy with other things, but this is something that I really want to do. I really enjoy doing it, and hopefully you enjoy seeing what's coming out. We're going to try to do it every Wednesday like we used to do. And yeah, so if you're cool with that, go ahead and like and subscribe and do all the things. Some really neat stuff this morning. We've got some really inexpensive stuff. We've got some stuff that I'm personally really excited about. And we've got some amp stuff across the spectrum. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, a couple of super premium things in there as well. Kind of a little bit of things for everybody. I'll leave a link to as much of this stuff as I can find in the description. Some of this stuff's not coming out till later this summer. They're just announcing it now. So we might talk about it again later in the summer. But I'll leave links to everything in the description. If you use those links, it helps out the channel quite a bit. If you want to. You don't have to. But they're down there. Go and check them out. All right, so the very first thing I want to talk about is a super entry-level guitar from Fender called the California Standard Series. Now, obviously, these are not made in California because they're like $269. But we've got a line of entry-level acoustic guitars, and what I dig about this is they've got electronics, some of them, tuners, some of them, and they come in a bunch of different colors, so that'll be appealing, especially to entry-level folks who, you know, they really factor that sort of thing into their decision-making process, as well as this gets them into sort of like the Fender Play thing. It's possible that they might, you know, want to start taking online lessons, learn some basics, get into the community, which I really dig. I think it's really important to be part of a guitar community, a positive one, and so I think this is pretty cool. These are really inexpensive guitars. Obviously, they are import instruments that will serve that purpose of being a good entry-level instrument. And like I said, that Fender ecosystem is huge, and this will get them into that. Super cool. I'll leave a link to these in the description if I can find them. There's a bunch of different colors. There's a couple of different body styles. They come in spruce tops and sapele, and there's some mahogany and some stuff, depending on what style you want to go with. I think this would be a great gift idea because of the economy of them and because of, like I said, the community that they will build. If you have been following this channel at all, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of the Fender Classic Vibe series. They've always been great. You buy them, you can mod them, you can leave them alone. They're just fantastic instruments, especially at that price point. They're really, really good. And even for expert guitar players who have, you know, even much more premium instruments, it's fun to have one of these around. They're really good guitars. Now, they've normally kind of fallen within that like 50s, 60s, 70s, super kind of like vintage correct for the price sort of vibe, classic vibe. That's what the whole deal is. But they've kind of done an update to these for 2025, which I find very interesting. It makes sense because of the Fender Standard Series coming from Indonesia, which puts you in that $599 area, right? So where does the Classic Vibe sit? How do they spice that up a little bit? So what they've done is they've sort of made the Classic Vibe deal in sort of a mod situation. Let me explain. So we've got the Telecaster. It's got a Bigsby. It's got a humbucker in the neck. It's not just a vintage correct-ish Classic Vibe, but it's a vintage correct-ish modded Classic Vibe, which is pretty cool. They've also got a Strat that is like a 70s Strat, but single hum, right? So Classic Vibe, but modded, which is super cool. I dig this. I dig this a lot. And then they've got a Tahitian Coral Jazzmaster with pink, and they've also got a, what is this other thing? The Starcaster, right? Or I apologize, Duosonic, with a single in the neck and a humbucker in the bridge. These are going to be great modding platforms. I dig this a lot, and even if you don't want to mod them, I think they're going to be great guitars to begin with. I don't think I might want to buy that Telecaster. And as far as I can understand, they start at $419. That's bonkers. I think this is the move if you want to get into a not exactly plain Jane version of a Fender guitar for a reasonable price. For those of you who know who Marcus King is, and for everybody else who lives under a rock somewhere who has not heard of Marcus King, He plays a ES3 345, so that would be the one with the baritone. It's got a side action tremolo on it, blah, blah, blah. He had a custom shop version of this that was obviously extremely expensive because it's a custom shop version. But they've come out with sort of a simplified one that is going to be a Gibson, so it's still a Gibson, but it doesn't have all the custom shoppy stuff. It's, you know, it's going to be, I don't know if more affordable. It probably will be more affordable. I couldn't find a price on this thing, but it's not going to have a baritone. It's not going to have a trem arm, and the trem's going to be blocked out. Basically, it's sort of like a player's version of this that makes more sense, right? Because if it's it's also mono. There's no stereo because usually a 345 is stereo. So it's like a simplified version that basically cuts it down to the features that most normal guitar players would actually use, right? Like we might not use the tremolo. I would never use a baritone. Maybe you would. And also, you know, having mono versus stereo, that's sort of a tough thing to use for most people. So this makes sense, and it's probably going to be more affordable than the original one that we saw, but also still very Marcus King vibes, still Gibson 345, and anything in that ES feel that's red is going to give you that super cool vintage vibe. Dig it. That's a cool guitar. I like that a lot. One of my favorite amps I've ever had was a brown Vibroverb by Fender. It was 40 watts, and it had a really interesting tremolo. It was not vibrato. It was not the normal one. They changed it up some. I don't remember. I don't know all the technicals of it, but it was really, really cool. And this thing that I'm showing you now is called the American Vintage 62 Super. It's a 40 watt amp, two 6L6s, a 5AR4 rectifier, 6 12AX7s, 40 watt. This thing's gonna be loud as crap, y'all. It's gonna be very loud. Two 10s. This amp is gonna be amazing. I think it's gonna be like $2,500, which is what tube amps cost in 2025. Yep, $2,500. I think it's coming out in September. If I was gonna buy any tube amp right now, this might be the one for me because I really, really miss the Vibroverb that I had, and I know this isn't exactly the same thing, but that special tremolo that this amp has, it's gonna be cool. This is a really cool amp, and it's gonna give us those vintage vibes that a lot of us kind of miss. Let's go to the other extreme of the technological spectrum, and let's talk about FR, which is full range flat response speakers. So if you play with a modeler, you might be interested in the Tweed version of the ToneMaster FR. I think this is going to be like $649, and it is a 1,000-watt amplifier to be used with a modeler. Of course, they designed this to be used with their Fender modeler, but you could probably use it with just about anything. I really like how this thing looks. It's in Tweed. It's going to have your XLRs. It's going to have your pass-through to hook it up to a PA, so that you could. But then you can also have the speaker behind you. It's going to be super cool. It's got its own controls and stuff. It's 28 pounds. It's got the cool tilt-back legs, Tweed finish. So it's going to give you that vintage vibe with the 21st century of it all. I dig this. If I was playing loud somewhere all the time, I might get one of these because I would probably use it with my Kemper player, and I really dig it a lot. Or use it as an extension speaker to my ToneMaster Princeton, which I think is super neat too. So this thing can be used a bunch of different ways, and yeah, there you go. If you have a modeler and you want to feel and look vintage at the same time, this is your move. Remember a couple years ago, Fender came out with the, I call them Hammer Time, but the Hammer Tone line of effects. There's a few of them. They've got this cool kind of container or enclosure that's like hammered. It looks like an old 60s piece of equipment. And they're relatively inexpensive, right? So they just came out with a tuner. 1/10 of 1 cent, which is all you need. That's as accurate as a Peterson Strobo Stomp or any of that kind of stuff. It's as accurate as, way more accurate than a Boss TU3. It's more accurate than a lot of stuff. And that's very accurate. It's a small enclosure, and they say that this is going to be just as accurate as your TC Electronic, your Boss, your Peterson, all that kind of stuff. 99 bucks. Now there are cheaper alternatives, there are more expensive alternatives, but for the features that this thing has, 99 bucks, the Strobo Sonic, I think is what it's called. It might be a move. Now I don't know if this means that you're going to move from one tuner to this, but if all you've been using is like a clip-on tuner, or if you're using something older that is less accurate than these more modern kind of, I don't want to say imitation strobes, but they are sort of a emulator of strobe. If you've never used like a strobe emulator style tuner, this might be the move for not a lot of money, 99 bucks. All right, so Goldilocks on the amp deal. So we went super vintage, and then we went FRFR for all of you modeling folks. Now here's something that falls a little bit in the middle, and it actually is sort of interesting for this brand especially. So we know Supro, right, has been the jam for like this. They've been super hardcore tube. They are always a vintage look, a vintage feel, a vintage sound, right? Supro, you know. Now this is an interesting one. So this is a small tube amp, okay? It's a combo, but they're doing something I think is important. So it's a 25 watt 112. It's called the Airwave. And so you've got the normal tube front end, like a normal amp, but then we've got the digital interface of the back end. So we've got all of your emulator stuff for speakers, all that kind of stuff, so you can take this thing into a studio. You can use it as a regular tube amp on stage or in the studio, or you can use the tubiness of the tube amp, but then the digital back end to be able to record with it much more easily and that kind of thing. I had an amp that did this for quite a while here that we used for videos and stuff, and I really, really liked how it worked. But this is a Supro. This is going to be cool. I don't remember how much they cost. They are going to be $14.99. You know, that's not unreasonable. I want to say the one that I had was $12.99, and it was a Black Star. So a Supro with their long heritage of very good vintage style tube amps crossed with this digital interface is going to be super sweet. Lastly, this is a big deal. Line 6 has their next level, or their next evolution of the Helix. I think they call it the Stadium, and I think there's the Stadium XL. I don't know a whole lot about this. I've not been a I've had some Line 6 stuff. I've had a Helix Stomp and some other stuff. But I've not really dove into it that much. I think, to me, the authority on this is probably going to be like Steve Sterlacci over there at his YouTube channel. You might check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description next to the link to this. Because if you want that kind of move, he's going to give you more details on it than I am. This is just not my jam. But what's really cool about this is there's a bunch of features. So, of course, it's got a new touchscreen. The UI is way better, but the processor is a lot different too. I think you can set up, from what I understand, you can set full up MIDI rigs. So, like if you were playing with a click and you had your entire set out like a lot of people are doing. So this thing is like next level to be able to perform. I think that's why they're calling it the Stadium. So this is going to be an amazing on-stage tool. Like I said, this is not my area that I know a whole lot about. So check out Steve's channel. I'll link it in the description where I link this. Use my link to buy it and then go watch his channel and learn about it. And then he'll probably have a bunch of profiles and stuff because that's what he does. So definitely check that out as well. Before you go, we have a couple things new on our website. So we make flat work for pickups. If you make your own pickups, if you're dabbling in it as a hobby, if you're messing around with it, we make flat work. We sell magnets, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to make Strat pickups, we've got all the parts, okay? And we just released yesterday, we had them formerly available only in the .187 magnet measurement, the holes. If you want them in 0.195, there's a little drop-down box. You can click over to that, and you can get that available on our website as well. Keep an eye out on Dylan Talks Tone. We're going to be revamping a bunch of stuff, making it easier to find some of this custom stuff, the custom colors and this and that. I'm working on that this week. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe. Use the links in the description. That helps us out. Let me know what you think is the coolest thing this week and what is the dumbest thing this week on the Gear News. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you later.